Hello everyone! I'm going to be going over where it all began, the possible whys and hows the Mistress came in contact with Chris and Shanann Watts. Not just with her first Google search of searching for Chris Watts in 2017, but possibly as far back as 2016. So I'll start with this photo that's been floating around Facebook for about a week now, which is the Mistress, Nicole Kessinger, in October 5th, 2016, as she entered a 45-day fitness challenge. October 2016, this was 10 months before NK would Google Chris Watts dated on August 3rd, 2017. And then was 11 months before NK Googled Shanann Watts possibly stalking her and getting to know her through her very public Facebook account. And 17 months later, in April 2018, NK starts her contract at Anadarko, where Chris had been employed, and it's stated in the discovery, Nicole and I discussed her employment as she stated she was fired August 22nd, 2018 from Tasman Geosciences. She reported she was a contracted employee with Anadarko Petroleum through Tasman, and Anadarko had canceled her contract, so Tasman in turn fired her. Now I want to show you a lot of coincidences, as if there aren't enough coincidences already in this case. Now, we know that NK started her contract at Anadarko at around March-April of 2018. Now, also what happened in March and April of 2018 was Shanann had a sit-down with an attorney at a restaurant to talk about divorce and the laws of divorce in Colorado. And then also we had the other quote-unquote mistress, Amanda McMahon, that said she also slept with Watts, and that happened between February and March 2018. And then we have the quote-unquote gay lover that has spoken about also sleeping with Chris and states that they had relations on and off from last June up until March or April of also 2018. And then we also have Shanann's friend, Kelly Burke, and the last time she's seen Shanann was that last part of April 2018. And they were both in New Orleans for a Thrive conference. And they were there for about 5 days, she says. Now, at the bottom here, she states that she never saw anything that led her to believe that Shanann and Chris were having problems in their marriage, and that she overheard several conversations with Shanann that she had with Chris on the phone that appeared to be normal. Now, she's on the phone with Chris. Chris is not with her in this New Orleans trip. This is so significant with the two other people, Amanda and Trent Bolt, that are stating that they slept with Chris around the same time frame. And also the same time frame, the Mistress NK starts her contract with Anadarko, where Chris works. This just blows my mind. Oh, I also want to mention I am working on another episode with regards to the people that say they slept with Chris and the actual connection that he could have had with Amanda McMahon. So yeah, the connections with the dates is just, it's mind-blowing. Because no matter what, somebody is covering up their tracks. And I think it's the pathological liar, Chris Watts, and maybe one other person. Especially when Shanann wasn't even in town or in the state. That is highly suspicious. Now, I also want to mention that Luke Eppel, who was the foreman for Chris at Anadarko, said that he's been working for them since April 2016. 2 years before NK would start to work for Anadarko as well, and 6 months before NK did this 45-day fitness challenge. So before, when I left off at 17 months later in April 2018, NK starts her contract at Anadarko. And then 19 months later in June 2018, NK and Chris Watts started dating. Now, it's also significant on how these might be true because of the pattern that Chris displays while Shanann is gone. So she was gone at the end of April. We have a couple people that came forward and said that he may have cheated on Shanann during that time while she was gone. And then Shanann leaves for 5 weeks to go visit her family in North Carolina. And guess who's cheating on her? And then she goes on the other trip after she comes home from North Carolina. She goes to another Thrive convention in Arizona. And there he is again, cheating on his wife while she's gone, when he went on his last dinner date with Nicole Kessinger. 21 months later, on August 13th, 2018, Chris Watts annihilates his entire family and disposed them in the most inhumane way ever on his work site, Survey 319. Now let me remind you about the other video I made where NK was telling Chris Watts to prove that he was at the Survey 319 site. I'll try to put the link to that video below. It's more detailed, obviously, but this is from the discovery, and this is her telling the CBI that she told him to prove that he had been to the site. And how he proved it was Chris sent her a picture of the release. Now, why would she be so concerned about proving that he was at this site? And it's kind of weird because she doesn't actually mention that she wanted him to send her a picture of the release, but that's actually what he sent her, but she didn't ask for it. She just wanted him to prove that he was there. So, I mean, you could say that looks a little suspicious. But then we also know that she was employed as the quality control and safety employee. So more than likely, she was the person that got the call that there was something wrong on that Friday beforehand at Survey 319, that there was something wrong with this release. And she's the one that called out for someone to go fix it. And ironically, Chris decides to take it upon himself to go fix that release and also dispose of his family at the same site. And one could also think, did somebody actually do something to this release to make it trigger that there's something wrong at that site, to where Chris would have an excuse to go out to Survey 319 and eventually do what he did? I don't know. Sounds a little suspect to me. Now, before I move on to the connections between Shanann Watts and Nicole Kessinger in the year of 2016 until she did her original search on September 1st, 2017. But first, searching Chris on August 3rd, 2017. There's been a lot of speculation that this was a typo in the discovery. And I'll show you two different forms of why this is not a typo. The first one, on August 23rd, 2018, they did a phone collection and interview with Nicole Kessinger. So they retrieved all the data on her phone on August 23rd. So for people who are thinking she did this search on September 1st, 2018, are wrong, because that is not possible. If she gave everything over on August 23rd, how was she going to be able to search September 1st, 2018? So that doesn't even make any sense. Now moving on to the second one, which was an article that Crime Online had came out with, and it states, following a series of email exchanges and phone calls with the Weld County District Attorney's Office regarding the reports, Crime Online spoke to Weld County District Attorney Michael Rourke on Monday. Rourke said that the reports reflect what was shown in the forensic analysis of Nicole Kessinger's phone. The dates to which you are referring, in 2017, where it appears she Googled or otherwise searched Shanann, was data that came off her phone, Rourke said. And he also states, and it's in quotes, it's not a typographical error in the report. The detectives are reporting what was contained in the data from her phone. I don't know the answer to the question of why or how those dates ended up in her phone. And there's an obvious answer to that, is that it was her doing the Google search for Shanann September 1st, 2017, a year before the murders. So it also says, asked if the district attorney's office questioned or planned to question Kessinger about the data suggesting she was aware of Chris and Shanann Watts for up to a year before the murders. Rourke said that Chris Watts' guilty plea precluded any need to further probe the results of forensic analysis of Kessinger's phone. So basically, they didn't really give a shit, did they? Just as the rest of the investigation stopped as well. They couldn't look further into things like we as the public have. And Rourke states, we did not get to the point in our investigation of attempting to independently verify that or not because Chris Watts pled guilty. And states in quotes, when you ask me if I have verified that information, the answer to your question is no. Nicole Kessinger told us that she met and started the relationship with the defendant in 2018. So where that anomaly in the data comes from, I can't answer it for you. I don't know the answer to it. What in the world? So it goes on to say, Rourke said that the prosecutors are confident in the results of the murder investigation, which is closed. I have absolutely no reason to investigate Nicole Kessinger at this point in time. He said, and this is not a witch hunt. He says, and I'll quote, my job is to investigate and prosecute who's responsible for the deaths of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. We have done that. I have no information nor any belief that any other criminal defendant is out there who is responsible for the death in any way, shape, or form. And then, of course, the Frederick Police Department did not immediately respond to a request for clarification of their earlier statements about the phone data review. And Shanann had then quit that job on April 8, 2017, after working there for 4 years. If the sponsors had gotten a booth at this event, it's possible she met Shanann at that point. And now going back to the September 1st, 2017 search that NK did on her phone, if you go to Shanann Watts' Facebook page with her live on Facebook, that same day, September 1st, 2017, she was at Littleton Adventist Hospital. And that was the same day NK was Googling her. So that's 2 possible suggestions. Also, both being hospitals, which is kind of bizarre. And I'm thinking maybe if NK was on Shanann's Facebook that day and she's seen these people giving her flowers, I'm sure she had a little bit of envy at that point. And here's some extra posts that Shanann Watts took of the kids at the hospital, the same hospital that sponsored the 45-day challenge, in order by date. And also a very important post to note would be a text between Shanann and Chris about their baby Nico on June 19th, 2018. And Shanann states, "I love Chris. He's the best dad us girls could ask for." I hate reading stuff like that. It's so tragic. Now, we know that NK has Googled Shanann and Chris, and she also Googled their Facebook accounts as well towards the end of the relationship in the discovery. So I'm sure, possibly being the nosy mistress, she was probably watching Chris and Shanann's Facebook pages like a hawk. So not only would she have seen the pregnancy announcement video that they did together, she would have also seen this post on June 19, 2018. Then it would be quite obvious that NK already knew that Shanann was pregnant, and she lied once again to investigators. And then 11 days after this baby post, and possibly had seen that post and the video, so 11 days after these posts, NK is texting Chris that we have screenshots of, and she states on there that her friend was in a similar situation like this, being a mistress, obviously, and she expresses that it doesn't bother her, and she's not going to stop. She's not going to stop seeing him, and she has made up her mind. And then on top of that madness, she says and asks, "Are we bad people?" So she clearly knew what she was doing was wrong and did not care about breaking a family up on purpose. So moving on to August 30th, 2018, Anthony Brown, who also works at Anadarko, said in his CBI interview that he had seen Nikki and Chris near the break room standing extremely close. And that happened about 5 months prior. So this means that they were getting close between March and April. April, again, is when she started working at Anadarko, but they both say they started talking in June. So even if they did start talking in May or June, that's only 2 to 3 months of dating before he annihilated his entire family. Whatever he felt for NK in 2 months was enough for him to want to start fresh, and he knew it would be hard with his family in the picture. And also, on the other hand, NK's feelings were so strong in the short 2-month time frame, 21 months after her first search, 2 months into a brand new relationship, after not caring of what she was doing as proven in texts. She then Googles "marrying your mistress," which Chris also confirmed in his jailhouse interview, and also Googled for over 2 hours, you guessed it, wedding dresses. And then you have my other video that I did where the family was only missing, and Chris is talking about Shanann's wedding ring, and NK tells Chris to pawn it. They were only missing at that point. I will link the description of that as well. And also, one day after they went missing, she is searching, can cops trace text messages? And how long do phone companies keep text messages? And both of those searches were deleted by NK herself, along with any correspondence she had with Chris Watts. So that wraps up this video. Please let me know what you think below. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.